There'll still be some people straggling in, but we like to stay on time, especially because Mr. Hyatt here is probably being pulled 3 different ways. And I think I've met everyone. I'm Kent Misegades. You hopefully met my wife. Our typical administrative details here. Make sure you sign in, because that goes, we have to send that to the FBI tonight. Just kidding. Sign in and get a name tag. And also, I brought a little bit of literature from the Mises Institute. You know, Uli and I were just there a couple of weeks ago, so greetings from the Institute. We met the new president, Tom DiLorenzo, and a couple of other people, Mark Thornton and Juan Giru, I forgot her last name. But she's a new member there and just had a great time. I wanted to mention, of course, the topic of our last meetup in January was on the First Amendment, when we met at BO's Books and Brews, owned by a couple of our members in North Raleigh. There we were talking about, of course, our freedom of speech, freedom of expression, writing, getting published, and classical books, which that bookstore specializes in. Eventually, they'd like to open a branch here in Charlotte. So it's a very interesting concept. If you're ever out in Raleigh, you got some time, look them up. They're friends of Mises Club. And they got some great books in there, good food, good drink, just a really neat atmosphere for our sort of people. This meeting, of course, we're dealing with the Second Amendment and actually putting it into action. You know, our club's all about doing stuff, not just talking about it, right, Pierre?
Sure.
And I have to also give complete credit to Pierre for nagging me for the last, I think, almost 2 years to come here. And I'm sure he was right, of course. It's just mind-boggling. And we'll let him talk in just a second. I wanted to mention, you know, North Carolina played an interesting role in the Second Amendment. All of you, most of our club members know real history. And you may know that North Carolina was one of the 2 holdouts in ratifying the second Constitution of the United States, the one we know today, because it absolutely wanted the Bill of Rights as part of it. So it was just North Carolina and Rhode Island that held out until the Constitution included the Bill of Rights. So protecting these important natural rights is important to people here in the Carolinas. I think that's kind of a reason to be proud. Thankfully, we have people like Mr. Hyatt that have gone that, invested his own money and his own time to creating a facility like this. The more things like this we have, the harder it is for any government to take it all away. And we're probably going to win some of them over anyway. A little bit about the next couple of meetings. The tentative schedule for the summer, we're going to do another retreat up in Sugar Mountain. As so many of you know, one of the owners of Sugar Mountain is also a big supporter of Mises Institute, Andrew Jochel, and he's actually an Austrian-American, and they want to have us back. We have already quite a good list of speakers signed up, including Jeff Deist, who's the recently retired president of the Mises Institute. He's going to come. He's now with Monetary Metals that does some interesting things for people that own silver and gold to make their holdings actually earn money. The date for that is August 9th to 11th, Sugar Mountain, and we'll be actually in the resort building itself. We need some more room. And that's tentative, but things are coming together, and I'll send out more details. We also have the next, after that in the fall, scheduled back to the Raleigh area, Wake Forest. That's October 19th in tentative. That's going to be at Superior Tooling, owned by a good friend of ours, Robbie Earnhardt. He's a second cousin of Dale, I believe. But Robbie built a terrific tooling business, so you can see how tools are made that make plastics. And they developed their entire workforce through apprenticeship programs. That's my involvement with it. And I'll give you a good example of really high-end workforce training. They were recently acquired by a Swiss company that makes medical devices. And that's a very interesting development, and actually how that all came about. Then we'll have dinner in downtown Wake Forest. It's a lovely little town. Okay, at this point, I'm going to finish up here. We started, bear with me. Man, that is some kind of fire, Larry. You must have been in Boy Scouts. Wake Forest is the 19th of October. Yeah. Paul Swick had a nice idea some months ago that everyone that's attended 5 or more of our meetups gets one of these nifty lapel pins. I'll get you a free cup of coffee at McDonald's, maybe. I doubt it. Maybe, though, up at Bio's. I don't know. And actually, the lapel pin, the style, that's from the Mises Institute. That was actually derived from the coat of arms of Ludwig von Mises' family, which is kind of a neat significance. So I'm going to call up some people here, and I have pins for them. First of all, Pierre and his entire family, come on up. Jared, come on up. I call on George, but he hasn't been to 5 yet. George, keep coming, man. Mike Davis. Samantha. Samantha Gilbert. There you are, hiding out. Come on up here, Samantha. Craig and Wendy, are you here? There you are, come on up. There you are. You snuck in on me. Craig and Wendy. And Jeff and Denise are not here yet, are they? I haven't seen them. The Sherwoods are almost there. Next time. So close. So close. Okay, come on up. You can hold that for me. There you are, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I give hugs to everyone when we're done. There you are. This will impress your friend. Maybe not. There you are. There you are, Mike. There you are. All right. Round of applause. Okay, before I turn it over to Pierre, Pierre has been my right-hand man in many ways, and not only in Charlotte. He's never short for constructive criticism and criticism in general, but always with a smile. And, we're successful, I think, in great part to his support, and certainly in this area. And he's almost made it to every meeting. He said he was sick at the last one. And if he said he was sick, I'm sure he was sick. Yeah, is that right?
He was.
He was. I have a little special thing for him. This is a Mises Institute ball cap.
No way.
In Auburn orange, of course. War Eagle. There you are, my friend. Clubs like ours, here, let's get a picture. Put it on. All right, that's it. Clubs like we're an odd club. We have no income and no real organization, but pretty much everyone here is self-starters anyway, so we knew we didn't need that. But having someone in the Charlotte area help coordinate these things has been a true godsend, so I really appreciate it. And I'm going to turn it over to you now, and you can introduce our host.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. You guys give a round of applause for Mr. Kent Misegades, the president of the Mises Club, Carolinas. For you guys that don't know, Kent, this is his idea. He built this, being influenced by Benjamin Franklin, Kent and Yulie, his wife. They were influenced by Benjamin Franklin's Junto Club, where Benjamin Franklin would meet with entrepreneurs in the area, all the top entrepreneurs, and they would come together and brainstorm to develop solutions in the community. And so out from that, Kent, derived the Mises Club Carolina. So thank you, Mr. Kent, for all that you do. Thank you so much. We're now 2 years into the Mises Club Carolinas. And so we plan on continuing to grow. What our job is to connect entrepreneurs, community, and academia. So we're the glue that's going to put this all together, where we all are partnering to develop solutions, free market solutions to our communities. And so that's the whole point of Mises Club Carolinas. I myself am Pierre Lawson. I am the director of Mises Club Charlotte. I work alongside Mr. Kent Misegades, who's the president of the Mises Club. And so I have monthly Mises Club happy hours in the Charlotte area. So I definitely want to invite you guys to come out. If you're in the Charlotte area, give me a call, send an email. We can set something up. If you want to speak, if you know any entrepreneurs, definitely send them our way. Now, that being said, We are here finally for the Guns and Gold event in Polkton, North Carolina at Hyatt Farms luxurious shooting complex with Mr. Larry Hyatt, the living legend in the flesh. Mr. Larry, can you come up, please? All right. So we have a nice fireside chat. This is a little different from what we're used to, but it's beautiful, as you can see. This is a real fireplace, by the way. And so we're going to kick off the fireside chat with Mr. Larry Hyatt. And I want to thank you for really, partnering with me on this. This really means a lot to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been over a year in the making. We've been working on this, so it's really awesome. After the fireside chat, we will open up for Q&A for about the last 15 minutes. So we'll try to get through as many questions as we can. And we're going to have some fun, you guys. We're going to really have some fun. So if you're not here, there's no other way for me to explain it to you, but you just got to be here. Okay? All right. So, Mr. Larry Hyatt, I was so impressed with you when I first met you because you were working on the front line of your business, the most humble person that anyone can ever meet. And it didn't dawn on me that you were the owner. And that really just had a lasting impression on me. And I was like, I want to be like that guy. No, like seriously, that means a lot to me. So my first question for you is what motivates you to actively engage in the day-to-day business of your operations and your business?
Thank you, Pierre. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. The more I've learned about your organizations, I want to join. Man, everything's lined up the way I think. Being around entrepreneurs is, entrepreneurs always know which 65 hours a week to work.
Yeah.
So it's just all encompassing to have a business, as you all know. In my particular business, my father started a rare coin store back in the 50s when coin collecting was a huge hobby, sustainable hobby. Stamp collecting went out, but coins lasted. And during that era, I enjoyed dealing with people, and I enjoyed the history and the art of the product. And it'd be nice to have make a little money too sometimes, not always. The history of money has really taught me a lot of what's going on in our country today as we saw our money devalued. So family, and then thank goodness I had this chance. I don't think I've ever really worked a day in my life because my wife said if I had a day off, I'd go up to the store.
All right, nice. You know what, Mr. Larry Hyatt, I do have a special gift here for you on the behalf of the Mises Club Carolinas that I want to present to you here.
Great.
And, if you don't mind, you can just dig through that and see what you got.
Well, you can always use these.
You got the
A
markers,
little bit of staff I can
the
get.
highlighters.
All right. Good book. I'll start this tonight.
Human Action by Professor Ludwig von Mises, the greatest economist to ever live, in my personal opinion. And I'm sure you guys would agree. And so, Mr. Larry, this Human Action book, it's the Bible of economics. Ludwig von Mises had this stuff all figured out long ago. And that book right there was going to help you in all that you do. You don't even need no help, but it's going to just put the icing on the cake for you. So that's why I want to present that to you. So thank you for accepting that on our behalf.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you for the speaking club too. I will read this book. I love to read.
You're going to need those highlighters. All right. So, Mr. Larry, can you share the journey that led you to establish both Hyatt Guns and Hyatt Coins?
It's quite a journey. I finished at UNC Charlotte in 1972. I was taking a government job with the Federal Reserve. I was headed for Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Wow.
Training, and a alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agent was in the store, one of the head guys of the Charlotte area. And I told him where I was going. He said, "You don't want to go to work for the government." Everybody that works for the government knows the exact hour and minute and day that they get to retire. You can't get anything done. The bureaucracy is a nightmare. Your father has this great business. You ought to come in there. And I listened and I thought about it a lot, and I enjoyed working there when I was in school and helping. And I just made a decision not to go to the government and to go into private enterprise. Thank goodness.
Yes.
Of course, I might be retired now if I work for the government. But that was a big turning point in that. And, you know, when you work in a small business, you can make decisions quickly. You don't have that huge bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
There's many challenges, which I'm sure we'll get into. But that was a big turning point. And that day that I didn't go to Fredericksburg and didn't go to that training and went into, which was a coin store then, with just a few firearms, a big day for me.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Larry, what key strategy has been instrumental in the success and market leadership of your businesses? What's the key strategy for that?
I had a lot of strategies. I knew I didn't have a lot of knowledge. Here I was in the coin business, trying to start a firearms business. Lived in an urban area. Didn't have a lot of firearms training, so I had a lot of reading to do. I knew I needed to have product knowledge, so I got the books out. Mm-hmm. Number two, I joined a group. Just like y'all joined MISA, I joined a great group of gun people who own gun stores, most of them out west. I went out there, met with them, and I asked them what they did that worked and what they did that didn't work. Thank goodness, because some of the ideas I had were not so hot. And learning from those people who had some success and listening to them. And I still tell my staff today, you know, we're doing something that works. The owner leaves, the new people come in, they quit doing what works and start doing their idea that doesn't work. And the business fails. And a lot of small businesses fail within 6 months after the new owners come in. So I always had that fear that something would happen. I did have a son come in, my youngest son, Mitch, came into business, but it's so important to learn from the success of others and to listen and not be the know-it-all that so many of us turned out to be. And I think the most dangerous thing I was told is watch out for confident and wrong.
Awesome, awesome. I really like that. That actually reminds me of sitting at the foot of the master. You know, it's a lot that you can learn. And what I got from, you know, your venture here is that, you know, you sat with those people, you went with the people that were experts, already went through the bruises, the cuts, they got their war wounds, and they're sharing it with you, so you don't have to go through all of that. So that's wisdom. Appreciate that. All right, and with that being said, Larry, facing obstacles is inevitable in business, as we all know. Could you describe how you have navigated a significant challenge or a significant regulatory barrier in your business?
A lot of barriers. One barrier to our business, and this was just a few years ago, we had dealt with sales tax on gold, silver, and coins. And you're dealing with internet sales with, at that time, no sales tax. So what a disadvantage. We call it a 7% disadvantage. And so my son and I, we hired a lobbyist, went to Raleigh, got some bills written, didn't think it would ever amount to anything, and it failed. And my son Mitch said he was going to try again. And I said, well, you're on your own. I don't think it's going to make it. But the one thing that really helped get a bill passed to get rid of that sales tax, which was a huge barrier, was to not to say, oh, our money's going to New York, people are sending their money to other states. That didn't carry much weight. What really helped us get that bill passed was we're taking our family business and moving to South Carolina.
Wow.
That hit the chord to get that bill passed. Okay. So that was a huge barrier. That really opened up the bullion business to North Carolinians. You didn't have to worry about sending money off and waiting for product to come in where there's always risk. Really helped our business. And And also it helped us obey the law because so many people that were dealing in gold and silver and coins were not obeying the law. They were not doing the tax. They were not reporting. They were not keeping their records. It's one reason we had trouble getting the bill passed because they weren't paying the tax anyway. But that's always a risk. And let's face it, better to obey the law. If we got a bad law, change the law.
Yes.
That's good.
Awesome, man. You know that the bill that you're talking about is House Bill 434.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, House Bill 434 is the bill that it granted the sales tax exemption for the purchase of bullion here in North Carolina. So my question, I guess my next question for you is, how has that bill, the House Bill 434, impacted the demand for gold and silver at Hyatt Coins? Have you seen an uptick in business because of that particular law making, gold, the purchase of gold more accessible to people, removing that tax barrier?
It absolutely has helped our business. It even helped the business of the people who didn't help us pass the law. But to make that decision, we can't get the help, we're doing it on our own. But, the tide rose all the ships. And it's been a great boon for the people that deal in gold and silver and the people that buy it. And if someone's going to buy a $100 piece of silver, it's not a big deal. But if you're going to buy $10,000 worth or 20 or even 100, the sales tax is a big stopping point. So it really opened up our business. Oddly enough, you have to limit your business. You don't want to do more than you can do. We're not able to handle some of the huge gold transactions. There's risk when you deal with gold. You've got physical security, and we're in the physical gold business, not a electronic representation, not a mail order house or internet house in another state, a local place where you can buy it and sell it, take it with you, or sell it and take the money home with you. Costs a little more for that type of operation than the other. But I think from the success of Mitch and what he's done there with the gold and silver business, it's absolutely helped tremendously, helped us and helped our customers. And every 100 days when we go another $1 trillion in debt, it's helping everybody to buy something.
Oh man. Speaking of that, man, we everybody that's paying attention to the markets can see that, gold is doing such a phenomenal job right now. Finally, those of us Austrians, we're goldies, man. We're goldies. And so we love our gold, man. Gold is outperforming the S&P 500. Gold is having a phenomenal run right now. As you mentioned, we have record high inflation that we've never seen before, and which is actually understated in the CPI. We're not even looking at the real inflation, but we feel it in the real market. And, people are not getting the raises to catch up with the rate of inflation unless you are a government employee. They're the only ones who benefit. So they're like, well, we don't feel the impacts of this, or we don't understand what's going on. And everybody else is like, man, I remember, getting a cheeseburger from, McDonald's, a whole meal. I can get that for under $10. Now it's $20 for a cheeseburger everywhere you go. So people are actually really feeling this. Do you mind, from your point of view, explaining to our community, why is it important for them to have and own gold at this point in time?
Well, I tell people, don't come in and say, I'm taking my retirement money and buy gold. But all of us should have at least a small amount, maybe 5% or 10%, more if you're comfortable. And you need to have it accessible. It can't really be in the safe deposit box because you may not be able to get into a bank to get it. If our economy fails, and looking at what's happened all over the world, some of these economies fail very quickly. Stock market, all these investments that we have are insurance, life insurance, 401ks, all our investments, they're really in the same place. They sound different, but my oldest son has a hedge fund. He's in the exact opposite business I'm in, and deals in this huge amount of wealth that people have, trying to make money in investments in securities. And they're a house of cards, in my opinion. Everyone's bidding up. I've seen the bubbles in my past. I've seen several bubbles since I've been in business. And we're in one now. I always say we're in a world where the emperor has no clothes. It's our best interest to pretend like he does, but he doesn't. And a little bit of precious metal I think, would be a great asset to your family and your children in the future. I'm not a person of excess or conspiracy. I want to look at the facts. I want to see what works and what doesn't work. And I know what we're doing now is not sustainable. And I don't know what the end result is, but I will tell you this. Being in the coin business, I can show you Batista Cuban money, Vietnam Dong, Confederate money, Tsarist Russian paper money. That stuff's worthless. But you know, the Tsarist gold coin is still valuable. Okay? If you look at the silver and gold coins of all these countries that have gone and their paper money is worthless, their gold and silver coins are still valuable. And they're valuable in today's value, not an old value. So it's definitely something that will ride some of these miseries that we may be going through.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to tell you a story that you don't even know about, but this is how I learned about your business. A few years back, the market, gold and silver had crashed. And when it crashed, I wasn't paying attention to gold and silver. And I was licensed in about 9 different states to sell mortgages. And I had a client that was in California who was, buying a mortgage through me. And he was a young boy, which you always remember because, young kids really can't afford to buy houses. But this kid, he had some good money. He was buying a house. And he was telling me he was excited. He was on his way to go buy some gold. And I said, why are you going to go buy some gold? He said, because somebody in the streets just told me to go buy some gold. And I was like, so some random stranger tell you to buy, you're going to go buy gold? Like, that's how they live in California? That was crazy to me. It was the most insane thing. So I was like, that don't make any sense. So I went and looked at the chart. And when I looked at the chart, my eyes said, whoa, this is a low that we haven't seen in such a long time. This is it. And so I went in and I piled up on gold stocks, because I was in the market as a retail trader. But I wanted to get my hands on the physical. And where I live in the Ballantyne area, Charlotte, nobody had any gold. Nobody had gold. I called up a couple of friends. I had some friends who've been investing for years, and they couldn't find any, but they told me, stay on standby. Give me a couple of days, we're gonna find somebody. So my friend, he called me up, just random in the middle of the day, I'm working. He said, Pierre, you gotta get down here right now. I said, where are you? You found it? He said, I told you I was gonna find it. I'm like, I like to debate, so I'm telling him he's not gonna find it nowhere, because I'm like, if Valentine don't have it, nobody got it, right? None of the shops out here got it. He was like, you gotta come down to Hyatt Coins. Hyatt got some gold and silver. I was like, what? And so he said, this is what you got to do. He said, everybody's in front of the store. It's 2 lines wrapped around the building. He said, I want you to walk to the front of the store and tell them that you're there for the coins. Because the 2 lines wrapped around the building was for people that was buying guns. So we know you had a field day selling guns that day. But I walked right through the front door to get some coins. And, that was a life changer for me, because I know that you're a businessman, but you so happen to have it when nobody else had it, Do you remember that point in time? And how were you guys able to sustain through that time when everything was bought? In fact, your son was in there. He was on the phone and he was taking calls from people. You guys had to have a limit of how much you can buy. And people were calling in like, I want 1,000 pieces and 1,000. He's trying to explain like we got limits, because like how did you guys, navigate through that period?
Well, when you have what we call one of the panic buys and the bubbles, those are very difficult. You have huge amounts of demand very quickly. One thing you do is you work hard. There's no day off.
Yeah.
There's no lunch. Go to the bathroom before you go to work. But dealing with scarcity, and you got a lot of customers, and some of you have met great negotiators, but you've got to limit how much each of your customers get so you can spread it out. It's also good for your business to spread it out. The big wealthy guy that buys it all up damages your other 300 good customers. So you want to be in control. And And you've got to have staff that can help people. You know, there's not much self-service in gold and guns. You got to have somebody to wait on it. And I have a lot of business people in our store that say, you sure have a lot of people working for you. But I said, well, it takes a lot of, there's no self-service. You got to have, you're lucky enough to get 20 people to buy firearms, you better have 20 people to wait on.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 10 people buying gold, you've got to have 10 people to stand there and help that customer deal with the physical product. So it does take staffing, and you have to manage it well, part-time staffing as well as full-time, and everybody pitches in. A business plan for these panics is to be able to call your gunsmiths, your internet people, your office people. Everyone can come on the counter and be trained. They can all come out and help the customer. And when business dies down, they can go back to their jobs. It's a huge way to get 22 or 25 salespeople on the counter instead of 10. And it really works. By interrupting people's jobs, they're on the computer doing something, they're paying bills, they're fixing a gun. Nobody likes to be interrupted, but it works. It works. And that was a huge help to our business when we had that. And I always tell people, oh, I bet y'all made a lot of money. Well, I'm going to tell you, when you have a bubble or a panic, the profits are great the first week, but you got to reorder. You sell everything, you have to reorder.
Mm-hmm.
The second week is great. The third week, there's nothing to buy. Okay. So then you have what's called lost sales. Those are the business you could have had, but you don't have the product to sell. And the business, you got to think ahead and plan. And a lot of our business is based on the news and what happens in the world event. Someone said, what would make gold go to $10,000 an ounce? Pakistan, nuke India. It'd probably go the next day. It's so much of our business involved with the current events.
Oh man, thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. You know, in Austrian economics, Professor Ludwig and the rest of the Austrian professors and economists, they teach us about the importance of prices. Prices are like braille to a blind person. It tells the consumers what to buy, when to buy, how much to buy, and the entrepreneur like yourself, what to buy, when to buy, how much to buy. So, your story is just us seeing the application in real world of the theory that we know. And that's phenomenal to see you actually put that to work.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have a member, North Carolina State Representative Mark Brody, who's actually been working on House Bill H721. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but it's about getting North Carolina to do a study on having a gold bullion depository, a gold bank here in North Carolina that's similar to what the state of Texas has been very successful for Texas, and we're looking to move into that direction. And how do you think that something like that would impact investors here in North Carolina?
Well, owning physical gold is risky in the sense that people know you have it. They will come to you and try to get it. It might not be the good people. So having a safe place to put bullion, particularly if you have a large amount, is important. The Texas plan seems to be working well. Most people have used safety deposit boxes in the past, and we've seen some problems with that, like we say. And we saw in 2008 in the banking crisis, pretty frightening. It took generations to see it. In the 30s, our grandparents saw it, or great-grandparents for young people. We almost saw it again in 2008. Not that far from it during the COVID crisis. Having a place to keep that product that you can go to and get it and drive to it is important. We talked a bit ago when you were talking about trying to buy gold and silver. When they legalized ownership of gold and silver became popular, the banks started selling gold. And many of the stockbrokers, securities dealers started selling. And then they quickly quit. They quickly stopped selling it because they did not want to deal with that physical product and the security issues it caused. First of all, it can be stolen internally or externally. And third, you could be violently robbed. In other words, there's an element of our society that would harm you or kill you for money. So there's a danger in having some wealth in your home or easily accessible to you. It also puts you at some risk. So these depositories have a lot of use besides just safe storage. You can keep your family safe too. And if you are an owner, don't tell anybody. You know, we sell big safes and vaults in our business and to help people store things. And one of the things we tell people is, you know, don't, hey, I just got a new safe. You know, that is extremely private information. So the gold depositories would help with that. Now, there's also some risk. I mean, we've seen our government, they can just come in there and do something. And we talked earlier with, I think with Kent, 1933, you know, they outlawed gold. Ownership, private ownership. Except in teeth and jewelry and a few numismatic coins, it was outlawed. So you don't we don't know what this government will do. You know, we don't know. Be ever vigilant. Okay. This great election we're getting ready to have, we don't know what's going to come out of it, but it's possible that the left could take over. They could get that extra vote, and who knows what they might pass. As some of us were talking earlier, democracy means that 51% can take away everything the other 49% have. So be on guard, be on guard.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we may have to conceal the fact that we're Austrians, you know. But yeah, we're looking forward, and you know, we'll be awaiting the developments of that bill from Mark Brody, and we hope that it continues to, you know, to grow and be successful. All right. Well, let me ask you this: what advice would you provide for a beginner that's looking to invest in gold and silver?
I get that a lot. The internet, oh my gosh. How could we have so much information available and yet not have good information? I've never seen so much bad stuff, particularly the coin collecting part. I've never seen anything. It's just total fake product, and it's getting worse. So, and there's nothing worse than someone coming to your store with a couple of gold bars or a couple gold coins, and they're not real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I bought them off the internet. Yes. Oh my. Beware. And you know, you say, well, how would they be dumb enough to do that? Well, you know, some of these sites are pretty good. A good con person, I always say the good con person doesn't have born to lose tattooed on their arm. They look good. They're nice. They're polite, trustworthy. They have a cross on their around them. Watch out, because be on guard, because the criminal element is out there. And I don't want to diversify, but you know the morality has dropped off. Is our country has destroyed religion. It's done all this damage to our young people. So many don't even think it's wrong to steal. They do think it's inconvenient to be caught, but it's not bad. That's a horrible situation to be in. So what I tell beginners, buy a reputable place. And what does that mean? Be careful. It'd be a fake website. Have the name of a good one, and it's not even that one. You know, it could say Amex, and it's not really Amex. You can be sending your money to a place that you think is the right place, but it's not. It is extremely dangerous, more than you even know. Okay, we've had it done to our gun store, a fake Hyatt gun store.
Wow.
Fake, looked pretty good. Had my picture on there. Damn. To be careful, people. Thank goodness they were not successful at the gun, selling a gun, but they were successful in getting people's social security numbers. Saying, oh, we've got you charged for this gun. I didn't order a gun. Well, let me look it up and help you. And then the next thing you know, they're giving information. So some of it, not to get your money, is to get your information. But beware. When you buy gold and silver, you can usually tell gold and silver pretty easily if you've got a real one to go by. But a lot of people who have been duped, maybe at a flea market or someplace where they don't have a real one to go by. So beware if you can't compare. Okay. And it's always good to buy, most things that you buy, it's always good to buy from a place that you can find again if you need to. That's probably one of the biggest problems people have. They have an issue and they have no place to go. It's hard to collect $2,000 from someplace in Kansas. You're going to go there, hire a lawyer, and it costs you more to get it than you spent. And these criminals know it. So beware. And I also tell my customers, buy small amounts. You see the price. I mean, it's such an easy thing to buy, really. You see the spot price. You know what gold sells for, what silver sells for. You know there's some small percentage markups, whichever dealer you buy it. You know there's some cost of making a coin or a bar. There's some cost of moving the product. There's some cost of security. But when you divide it up over volume, it's small, much smaller than the shirt you bought at Belk's. Okay, so you do a lot of times at retail, like a shirt, it costs $4. They'll sell it for $39 or $49. I mean, huge. Try to resell it. You'll find out what the value is. You donate it. It's the only way you can sell it. But gold and silver, everything you buy over the counter is probably the lowest margin product you're going to buy. Be careful of pretty pictures and collectability. Those are for people that are really collectors, that are knowledgeable. Paying for a rare coin in uncirculated MS-69 condition, that's not your game, okay? That's a serious coin collector's game. Don't get in there and pay extra for that. Buy the bullion. If you want to collect coins, we'll help you. We'll give you good information. We'll make sure you know what you're doing. But don't just do the TV thing, okay? We see people who have retired, sat at home and bought stuff on TV, and they'll spend $50,000 on gold and silver products, and they're worth $5,000. It's horrible. So my advice is find a good place you can find again if you need to. Buy it over the counter. Use your debit card. The credit card costs 3%. Why give the credit card company? The mafia didn't do as good as credit card companies. Okay. So checks, you got to hold them. I mean, they're dangerous. Credit cards are dangerous to the dealer. People can contest it. They can say, well, I didn't get it. And credit card companies will give the buyer the money back and leave the dealer holding the bag. So that's why you're seeing difficulty in buying some products. So use your debit. That'll get you the best price. As long as you got your ID, you'll be able to do it. One other thing I want to do, this is a huge problem. It's called money laundering. Cash. $10,000 cash is anything over that has to have an 8,700 IRS form sitting in. Okay? So people come in, I just took $20,000 out of the bank. I want to buy some gold. I don't want anybody to know it. Well, guess what? Everybody's going to know it now. So don't do that. And you can't go into a store and say, well, I'm going to buy 5,000 cash and then 5,000. You can't structure when you buy. You cannot structure. They will run you out of the store because it's illegal, and money laundering is a felony. You don't want to get into that. You don't want to go in that store and say, yeah, I don't want the government to know about this money, because that's the person you can't do business with. Those are the terrible things for us to hear. It's like saying, I'm going to buy a gun from my uncle because he's a felon. You can't do that. So beware of the money laundering laws. Read about it. We've got a sheet that we give out. We have to be so careful because we can't structure it so that we don't have to send a form in. That's illegal. It's so gray. It's so difficult. And it's really caused a lot of problems with customers, is the money laundering laws. And guess what? $10,000 isn't as much as it used to be. That law was passed back in the 30s. $10,000 then to buy you a house, okay? Maybe 2 houses. So, these laws are really not pertinent to today. They still are laws, and they need to be changed, okay? And why aren't some of these laws changed? Because you got to have people that are interested in changing it. And it's expensive to change a law. Usually $100,000 minimum to get a lobbyist and get some things done. I mean, and it's not tax deductible. So you got to have a pretty good vested interest people to put up the money and get laws changed. And there's a lot of little laws that are bad that never get changed because there's not enough people to put the money up and change it. And guess what? A lot of our people in the House of Representatives and the Senate, whether it's in the state level or the federal, no money, no play. So nothing's going to happen. We saw that when I worked in the legislature with lobbyists getting some gun laws passed, as well as these sales tax on coins. It is like making sausage. It really is. It's a horrible experience to be up there involved in it, but it has to be done.
Man, you just dropped some gold nuggets on us, man. I'm gonna have to go back over my notes on that one, man. Jeez, the debit card, I didn't even know that. Did y'all know that? Don't buy credit, cash, you got IRS forms. Man, that was some gold nuggets. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so we're out here. We're at the luxurious Hyatt Shooting Farm Complex out here. This is beautiful. I can't wait to get some rounds off at the range. And I would like to be able to continue to do that for the rest of my days. I like to spend time with my kids and my wife and introducing them, making sure that they're comfortable and they feel safe and comfortable with handling firearms. And just in case daddy's not home, mommy can kick in, or son can kick in, daughter can kick in, or what have you. And here, the Mises Club, we value our Second Amendment. And, we really believe that it's very valuable. From your opinion, from your perspective, what regulations do you see that poses the biggest threat to our Second Amendment rights?
Well, there's a lot going on in the gun issue. First of all, you've got 3 levels of gun regulation. You have federal, which gets the most publicity. You have state, and then you have city, county. So there's and each one has its own issues. If it wasn't for the Supreme Court, you probably wouldn't have a gun. Okay? That's why the Supreme Court was so important. Who gets on there? This next election, and I think we've said this for the last 10, is crucial because what you don't want is a president and a Senate and a House, all one party, the wrong one, and because they can get something passed quickly and without much time for debate and without much time to get a stupid law stopped. Okay, and what is going on right now, as we said, is if that majority is in place and one homicidal maniac, obtains a firearm through one of 50 different ways and goes out and does a horrible act, and the media can show these victims, each one of them's funeral, their crying mother, the emotions that are going to be so high that we're all going to feel, that's when the law can be passed. That is when the most danger to democracy is those super emotional times. We saw it after Kennedy assassination. Some laws were passed in that were pretty frightening. It's almost mob rule when you get that type of thing. I compare it to the widow. Something horrible's happened. The husband's died. She's in the house. The kids come in. Well, Mom, what are you going to do with the coin collection? Oh, I don't care. We were married 40 years. I don't even want to live. I don't care. Take it. I don't care. And then a couple weeks later, Mom, what about the coin collection? Yes, let's go sell it, I think. Well, you gave it to your cousin. What? You made huge decisions during extremely emotional state, horrible decisions. And that's the same thing happens in government. We make decisions under emotion. And that's how Hitler took over when the Reichstag was burned down. And that was a moment of emotion. They could do something. The whole country has that emotional unite for a small time. So those are to me, that's the biggest danger. That's the big one. But then there's the small danger of every day something going on. And what we've seen in our business is the attack from anti-gun government that got the credit card, threatened the credit card companies so they would quit processing gun sales. Happened to us in October A few years ago, we were able to get a different one, but what a surprise. Going to UPS, FedEx, and the post office and preventing shipping of firearms. Well, a lot of them going back to factory repair, being shipped. It's horrible what it's done. Insurance, making it difficult to get liability insurance. Who wants to risk their wealth? You can't insure it, okay? And then the interpretation of a law. And this is something that affects a lot of things, not just us. But a law is passed that says you're not allowed to sell a gun to someone. You got to fill this form out, blah, blah, blah. And you're audited. So the auditors come in and they go through 15,000 forms, and they find a couple where the date, they put today's date instead of their birthday, or make a little clerical error, and they say, oh, you made 6 mistakes out of 8,000. You're in the percentage that's tolerable, but we should be even more careful. But human error, okay? Well, recently, the administration said that they will no longer treat errors as clerical. Any error, a major error, such as someone answered yes and they meant to put no, they didn't read the question right. Any clerical error of major clerical error will be considered willful instead of accidental. And one error, they can pull your federal firearms license. One. I've got 50-something people working up there. The phone's ringing. The customer's in front of them. All kind of things go on. Questions. They're human. They're gonna make a mistake. So knowing that, we have the second check. And knowing that, we have the third check. And knowing that, we have the final fourth check at the end. And even then, still some things are problems. So that is to get rid of the gun dealer. It's hard to get rid of the voter. But man, there's just a few dealers. They get rid of us, you don't have any place to go. It's like you couldn't find a place to buy gold.
Right.
I need to get a gun. Where can I get one?
They all gone.
Okay. That is a huge danger, and it's almost impossible to have perfection. And I've got a form that I've got in my little folder up there. So when I have to go, when this happens to us, because they're going to take our license, and I want to appeal it, and we're going to go to court. And I've got a form that's got ABAD on it instead of ABCD that they printed, and we had to fill all these papers out. So we have government error on the paperwork as well. Okay? I mean, this is a terrible, it is just political, and I know we don't talk about it, but when you take a regulation, and you take it to the furthest interpretation you can, that's political.
Yeah.
That's political. And we call it the heavy hand. Okay? The heavy. And we did a big firearms study years ago about how do criminals get firearms and how does the law get passed. Well, you interview someone, any of you, say, oh, do you think we need more gun control? And you think, oh, these teenagers just killed each other, and the little baby got hit with a stray bullet, and they shot these kids in school, and these people committed suicides. Oh my God, we need more gun control. But what if you said, would you be willing to give up your right to own a firearm and turn all your guns in? They might not get the same damn answer, okay? Would you be willing to give up self-protection and put all your self-protection faith in government? Would you be willing to do that? And I think what we've seen in the last few years, not many people are going to quite go that far. But it's how that question's asked is so difficult. And by the way, being in firearms business, firearms are dangerous. It's risky to let the population own firearms. It's risky to let them drive a car, okay? Risky to let them have babies. Life is risk.
Yeah.
It is risk. You cannot do away with it. And you're never going to solve crime by trying to take up every possible weapon there is out there. I mean, they just had some mass stabbing in Sydney last night. I mean, you're not going to prevent it. And people really want safety. And what is it? I think it's been right. You give up liberty for security, and you'll have neither.
Right.
Okay.
And that's a phenomenal point. We've seen Prime Minister Abe of Japan. Nobody has guns over there. Somebody made a shotgun and shot him and killed him right in the street. And so, like you said, all these gun laws that just disarm, law-abiding citizens like ourselves. And so when we're actually faced with the guys who's trying to get our gold, we can't defend ourselves. Recently in the headlines, we've had the Senate Bill 41 here in North Carolina. Senate Bill 41. I've seen that Governor Cooper had vetoed it. And then we just got a victory on March 29th, so a couple of days ago. We're here in North Carolina, you can now purchase a handgun without a permit. So all the permits I got some that I had bought and been saving on. I just wasted a lot of money, I guess.
Right.
But how do you think that impacts our community with that major bill and your business as well?
Well, all of you know that when you in the media, you don't have much. The reporters don't have much time to do a story in depth, so they're going to do a quick one-liners, we call them. When the permit law was repealed, it didn't change anything about background check. It just changed where you did them. Instead of the sheriff's department doing the background check, the federal firearms license did the background check. The federal firearms license were already doing rifles and shotguns, but handguns were done by sheriff's departments. And it wasn't a big problem. We have 100 counties in North Carolina, 100 sheriffs. Each one of them interpreted things a little different. Sheriff is not a professional law enforcement job. It is an elected job.
Mm.
Yeah. And in Wake County, Raleigh, Greensboro, Guilford County, Mecklenburg County, during COVID, the sheriff's departments did not have adequate personnel to handle the gun permits. They didn't have enough personnel to handle the jail. Okay? And the government workers didn't go to work. Of all the people that didn't go to work, because they got paid anyway. Okay? So there was a huge problem. So what happened, if you lived in Mecklenburg County or if you lived in Raleigh, and you decided, I want this horrible COVID thing that we didn't know what was going on to start with, it was really frightening the first few weeks. I better buy a gun to protect my family. If you lived in Mecklenburg County, it would take you 8 months to get the permit, which essentially denied you the right to buy one. But if you lived in Gaston County, you got it in 3 days. Okay? You lived in Union County, you got it in 3 to 4 days. Or Lincoln County, or Stanley County, or even Anson County. So huge disparity. And denying something when you need it is pretty bad. Okay? It doesn't do you good when you have social unrest or dial 911 and nobody comes. So this law needed to be passed. It needed a better system that you operate in an emergency. And when we dealt with the sheriffs, they were in a pretty bad situation. And I think they were glad to get rid of it. The Sheriff's Association actually endorsed changing the law because they want to get that off their table. Because what happened in Mecklenburg County, you've gone from 100,000 as I was growing up to 1.1 million. And you've got 600 people applying for handguns a week. And now you got 18,000 people applying for a handgun permit, literally in mass at one time. And that system didn't work. And as we've seen in any emergency planning, a lot of times things don't work in an emergency. So this is a good plan. Now it does give the federal government the ability to cut the national instant background check. If you cut it off, nobody in the United States could buy a gun unless you had a few exceptions, a concealed carry permit, and a few other things you could have. But you could literally take the gun purchasing ability away immediately.
Wow.
And how could that happen? Surely. Well, I'm gonna tell you, you ever heard of martial law?
Yeah.
Martial law, they will turn that off, okay? You have martial, and that could be some huge catastrophe in the country. But that's not a sales pitch. But if you want a gun, don't wait till you need it. It's like life insurance; it's too damn late.
Yeah.
Okay, you better plan ahead. You better plan ahead, and same with your ammunition too. And it has a good shelf life, and it holds value relatively well. So you definitely. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in this gun stuff, and it's even more complicated than I've said. But your gun rights are at risk every day, and if you live in New York City, you already lost them. The Sullivan Act said, in New York, the New York Gun Control Act said the police commissioner of each district would determine if a person qualified to own a gun. And in mass, they decided the only people that qualified were celebrities, organized crimes, and their cronies. That was it. So, it's a terrible situation. And it cost about $15,000 to get a lawyer who had an inside track to get a handgun permit. So when someone in North Carolina wants to get a concealed carry permit, they say, gosh, I got to do all that? And the guy from New York said, that's all I got to do. So,
All right. Man, that was phenomenal. We're bringing the Fireside Chat session to a close. I got two last questions. It's going to be a little personal here. And so I know that you're a family man. You got, kids working in the business. In fact, everybody out here from, the farm, even to the stores in Charlotte, everybody's like family. I love the bonding. I love how everybody's happy. I know that you're a great employer because, everybody who's working, they love what they do. And definitely appreciate that. And I know that your father actually, got everything, up and running. My question to you is, what is the most fond moment, cherished moment that you remember with you and your father? If you could think of, most memorable moment with you and your father, could you share that with us?
well, there's a lot of them. But, I think I mentioned that day that I decided to come to work in the store. And my brother had one brother, no sister. My brother he went to the farm. He said, I'm not doing anything indoors. And I went to my father and I said, Dad, I've been thinking about it. I'm not going to Washington. I want to stay here and run this business. And like the little lines in his face relaxed. He was so happy. I think, everybody's concerned on their family business because you know how hard it is. If outsiders don't know how hard the business is. And I think that was a bonding moment that something we would be able to work together with, and we'd already been doing some, to be able to work with, and my mother was there as well, to be able to work with your parents and to work with my wife and work with my son. And someone said, well, what is a family business? What's the big deal? Family business care. They care. They really care about their customer. They really care about the people that work there. They care. I'm going to tell you, the corporation has no heart. That's all that charity stuff, and that's PR. That's no heart in that. Baloney, okay? Don't buy it. They're going to give money to the Cancer Foundation. They don't give a damn. That's PR, okay? But I think the family business care, and we're Christians. And I say that as we're under attack. And faith is so hard. There's so many temptations and so much fighting us. And you need that moral backing. We need to have that. It's so important. I mean, to pray, to be forgiven for all the things, all the sins. Oh my goodness! It's to have it and have empathy for other people, and not to be so divisive. Find ways to help people. I know in our store we don't ask people what their political beliefs are. We just try to help them. And what people need good information so they can make a good decision. They don't need to see some guy on commission trying to sell you a bunch of mess. It's difficult, and people are not trusting. I don't blame them. I wouldn't be trusting either, but there's a lot of distrust today when you're dealing with customers. It really is. I think that is one of the hard things to overcome. But that was a big moment, and there I was. We got to work together from 1972 to 2012.
Wow.
Awesome. Man, I got a teardrop coming to my eyes right now, man. Y'all don't understand. Larry, he sat with myself and my son, and I was sitting there crying like a little baby in his office, just because I was able to, share that moment with him, and he was able to share some wisdom with my son. And I didn't have my dad growing up, so it means a lot to me. So I appreciate that. My last question for you, Larry, is what can our community, the Mises Club, Carolinas, what can we do to assist you in your efforts of overcoming regulatory barriers? Is there anything that you can recommend that we can do to help you in your efforts?
Well, just what I've learned about the Mises Club since I first met you and talking to some of your members here, and what I've read, you're already doing it. y'all are on it. And dealing with the public like I do, and I deal with every facet of life. I used to say in the gun business, we had the president of the bank, we had the teller, and we had the janitor for all my customers. I talked to all of them. And same with the mill, or same with any corporation. And I found that people are great, but they're not knowledgeable. They're not educated. They've been through the educational system, but y'all are educated. You look past the screen and see what's back there. And the rest of our country needs to do. You cannot have a republic with ignorance. You cannot have a country that people vote because they get money. Okay? I'll vote for him. He's going to cancel my college debt. I'll vote for him. He's going to send us some finance my house. Well, that's great all on an individual basis, but that doesn't work really. And that's what we're seeing today. We probably had it in the past. I don't think our political past was all that pretty either. But being knowledgeable like y'all are and spreading the knowledge, and we need more members. And I want to be a member. I like this. This is really what I believe in. And, the libertarian views and the economic views. And I'm really going to look forward to reading this. I'm not kidding. If I can read it while I drive, we should have audio. I'd listen to it. And I will close with this. Just always enjoy riding down to Anson County and not so much driving back to Charlotte. But I really enjoy being with y'all today. This has been a real pleasure. And I hope you have some questions. I'll be glad to answer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a Q&A session here. And if you have any questions, I guess I'll call on you guys. And if you would mind, stand up and project as loud as you can. Because we got a little distance back there. And we'll try to get through about 10, 15 minutes of questions. All right, so raise your hand if you got a question. Here you go. Well, Mr. Kent, he raised his hand first, actually, so we'll go with him.
These are easy and quick. I hear advertising a lot about Old Glory Bank in Oklahoma. They say they were started mostly to help gun shop owners. Curious if you know that. And second, when my grandkids are visiting, I got a big bag full of new coins from my grandfather.
Yeah.
They wanted to know what's their worth. We went online, we looked up this, I was shocked. Some of this stuff's pretty high. How do I go from there to going to just bringing a bag full of coins to you and tell me what they're worth? How do you see it? I know nothing about it.
Well, the internet is not going to help you. But, and I always tell people, the people that write the coin books with the values and information, they spend a lot of money getting that data. They don't give it to you free. You got to buy their book or buy it online. Okay? So the people online for free have a different agenda. So you got to be careful. We give out one sheet of paper that summarizes a lot of what's in the books at the store to help you. We recommend, if you don't want to read the book, just bring the bag in and staff them. They'll tell you really quick, this is face value, this is collector value, this is bullion value, and you'll know quickly. They might not be able to go through each one, but they'll give you a paper to make it easy for you. But there's a lot of disappointment in coins now because people look up on the internet, it says a 2017 state quarters worth $1,500, and it's not. I don't know why they say it, but we will give you good information. And most coin shops will do it. But I would just take them there. I think you would enjoy going and seeing the other coins and what's valuable and looking at the gold and silver coins and the truly rare coins. It's a like mini museum. It'll be helpful for you.
All right. Let's get Rob in the back. Can you come up a little closer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Larry, thanks for this great job. I appreciate it. I want to go back to your statement about holding your bullion. You talk about doing it in a depository yourself personally. What about holding it outside the jurisdiction of the U.S. as well? Or Steve Orchard and saying holding it outside, because I know back in the 30s, there were confiscated stuff, but there are some funds that thought that you pull it outside the borders, might be some safety there too, but you know, you might be risky out there as well. So I'm curious as to what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, well, mitigating risk. There's always risk. What's your lowest risk? Back in the 70s, I met a guy at the merchandise mart to buy gold. He flew in from Switzerland. He had a briefcase full of $20 gold pieces from the 1930s, 20s, that wealthy Americans had sent over there for just what you said when they realized gold might be confiscated. The wealthiest Americans knew this gold thing was coming, and they sent their gold to Switzerland. And a lot of it has come back to the United States. It's amazing to see a briefcase full of 1931 or 1920 $20 gold pieces, brand new, just stacks of them. And that is those hoards that just happened. Now, all those people are dead, but their gold was still there. Okay? But there is risk. There is risk doing it. If you've got a stable country and you can get to it, there is some reason to do that. I still think the best reason is to keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anybody.
All right, next up, Cindy.
Okay. You were talking about Bill 721, and your question, I noticed your answer had to do more with people's personal gold holdings and protection and storage. But the bill, as I was reading online since I was listening to this, they're really talking about it as creating first just studying it, a place to protect and hold the state's bullion.
Yes.
So your answer didn't. That's why I'm curious about your approach to this.
Yes, the Texas, the main part of the people I've talked to in Texas have used it for their personal, but there are definitely reasons that a state might want to have their own depository. There's some constitutional laws about the states making money versus the federal government having that right. It's a complex issue. I don't know where that's going to end. But it is possible that the state could have its own gold reserve or silver reserve. But that's a lot of constitutional stuff. That's getting into the weeds, and I'm not sure where that's going to go. But I do know it's very possible that the state of North Carolina could do that. They could put some tax money into gold. Yes.
But I guess I didn't make my question clear. Let me try again. I'm wondering, the bill seems to be written to offer the state of North Carolina a place for its bullion holdings. That's how they position this bill. So how does that impact us as individuals?
That won't impact you as an individual. That will impact the state to protect its wealth.
As a taxpayer.
Yes. And when we were talking about the Texas depository, it's more for your individuals to put their money.
Yeah, so we're in the beginning stages of that to get to the point where Texas is at. So it's a starter. So it's kind of like enticing the government to allow us to be able to do this thing. So what's in it for them, right? Okay. So it's like that's the starting point. But the end goal is to end up where Texas is at, which that's what he's answering. That you'll be able to. Okay,
so they're selling it like it's a state repository, but inevitably, probably if we get that, we can end up with an opportunity for individual citizens to protect their own gold.
Look at Texas. Texas is where we're trying to end up at. We're just starting.
Oh, thank you.
And the state of North Carolina, it would be difficult for, say, a North Carolina $20 gold coin. They would not be allowed to make that under the current laws.
Right. Okay.
I'd add to that, Mark Brody is going to come back and shoot them tell us his progress.
Okay.
And Franklin's Justin Sanders will come to Tennessee again. Didn't volunteer question. Didn't have heavily involved in the same effort. Tennessee is probably a year or two ahead. They also struggle to study how to educate people. I think they're just kind of following the same process.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kent. Yes, Mark Brody, he's going to be the guy for that. Let me get Carter.
Gold and silver, is there anything that they move equally as the value? Is there reasons to maybe pick one over the other? Just picking on that.
Well, the gold has been probably the winner. Okay, but for a couple reasons, it's got the 5,000 to 7,000 year history, and it's less bulky. I think the bulk has been its greatest asset. But silver is much easier to buy in smaller amounts. It's got a lot of trade value because you can deal with something. It's hard to spend $1,000 bills, easier to spend $20 bills. But both have done very well. They've not always gone in lockstep, but usually if there's anything that would cause gold to go up, usually cause silver to go up too. The exception would be the Hunt brothers when the government dumped reserves into the market to kill the value of gold. I mean, of silver. They didn't touch gold, but they smashed silver, and for a generation, people didn't buy silver. It was so ugly. And that was government intervention into the marketplace.
Thank you for clarifying that. All right, Samantha.
What do you think of burlap guns that don't require a license?
What kind of guns?
Is it burlap?
Burn and non-lethal.
Well, there's a place for those. Non-lethal products definitely have a place. And, technology is coming along. We're going to see some things coming in a few years that, Dick Tracy had that little thing on his arm, and now we all got it in our pocket. But we never thought about that when I was growing up. But definitely there are things coming on that will be involved, gun safety and non-lethal that people can use. And as crime grows, you'll see more of those come along. But you're seeing the tasers, you've probably heard of those. You're seeing these pepper ball that you can shoot out and get further distance to help prevent someone from attacking you. But right now, it's very difficult to stop a drugged up, wildly adrenaline criminal. They just can overpower you. And the biggest problem that citizens have, that we'll get in, this is a whole other class, but self-protection involves some training because the criminal has the advantage of time. You've got to react. And reacting, you got 2 seconds. It's so difficult that the most important part of self-protection is your brain and learning how to deal with that stress, how to be able to react. And they have classes as we speak, they're teaching that up on the range right now. Self-protection and the firearm is just, you would think it's a small part of it. It's the last part, okay? Everything else you do is prevent you having to use that firearm.
All right, we'll take 2 more questions here. All right, Shantae.
You mentioned that your mom worked in the business.
Yes.
And I was curious to know how long did she work in the business and how she packed that.
Well, y'all are not gonna like this. She was 88 years old.
What?
And I think she would have worked longer, but her hearing gave out. And when someone said, "Oh, Mrs. Hyatt, my wife passed away," and she said, "Well, that's nice," she was so embarrassed because she couldn't hear that was her retirement date. But she worked till 88 years old and was very active and would correct the math errors these guys made that worked there. And she was just an amazing person to work with. I always said, "Mom, just don't spank me in front of the staff."
Thank you.
All right, and Josh, I think. Yep.
A lot of critics will say that honestly, like I was curious if do you think gold still is the most sound money going forward to the future, or do you think alternative sound money like crypto, specifically Bitcoin, can and will become a viable competitor to gold? And do you take, or has Bitcoin or any crypto taken your market share of your business?
Well, all of the above are possibilities. I think, we all need to think, what if we go to our computer and we click on and there's nothing there? So if you put everything in your, out there in the cloud and they turn the cloud off, where's your money? How do you get it? So definitely you want to invest in your investments, in crypto. You want to use those alternatives. But it's also good to have a little in your hand as well, a little physical. So I'll say there's two divides, physical and electronic. Electronics out there, you got more people dealing in it. It's easier to keep up with. You got a lot of people making a living dealing in it. And the physical is more costly to deal in. Like you say, the banks and security people didn't even want to mess with physical gold, which is a big help to my business, but it didn't help buyers. Okay? But all those are possibilities, and there's always, and I call it the black swan, there's always government intervention. That threat, whether it's crypto or gold or anything you own. As they say, when the legislature's in session, your life, your money, and your wife are at risk. So it's so true, and we want to obey the law, but you see these bad laws coming, we got to get them changed quick. And I would urge, when you mention what can we do, we need lobbying in our legislature. That is the number one thing. If you go to a lobbyist, to a meeting in Raleigh, and some of you probably have, you go to a cocktail party, you go to see the banking lobbyist and the Duke Power lobbyist and the propane lobbyist and the used car dealer lobbyist and the mining lobbyist and the tourist lobbyist. Where's our lobbyist? Where's the Mesa lobbyist? Where's the guy that's looking out for freedom of, for the libertarian outlook? Where are they? They're not there. Okay, so we've got to be more active in politics. And I would say the biggest problem entrepreneurs is we can't take off and go up there. We can't leave our business and go stay up there for a week or 2 weeks or longer and work in the legislature. And that's why we need lobbyists to represent us there. It's not an ugly word. It is someone that can be there, but we can't. And keep them straight. Keep that knowledge going, because they don't have the knowledge either. They're getting that. What the lobbyist is, it has the ear, and that ear is talking to them. And we need to have the ear as well. Okay, so be active. Look at getting lobbyists, whether it's volunteer, grassroots North Carolina, the gun lobbyist group's been fantastic. What they've done and how they've been able to keep a presence in Raleigh representing the firearms. But there's nobody up there representing the gold and silver. There's nobody representing free enterprise. In fact, there's people representing all the other. And the real estate people want it harder to get a license so they'll have less competition. The banks want to make it harder to open a bank so there'll be less banks, less competition. Most of the things going up there are to prevent competition, not encourage it.
Wow, so we got to get up and get out there. All right, man, that was phenomenal. Mr. Larry, I want to thank you for your time. And this has been a very special moment for us and yourself. I want to thank the staff at Hyatt Guns, Andrew, Christina, Miss Sophia. Everybody's been, remarkable. Logan. And then also, with the Mises Club Carolinas, you guys can check us out. Make sure you support Mises Institute as well. They're coming in on the academia side. Support and donate as much as you possibly can. If you're in the Carolinas, come and give us a visit. Reach out to Mr. Kent Misegades. He's the president, and so you can reach out to him, or you can reach out to myself as well. That's me, Kent at MisesClubCarolinas.com. You can email him there. You can email myself, Pierre, at MisesClubCarolinas.com as well. So at this part of the session, we're going to go have some fun. And this is actually fun, by the way. We're going to have some lunch here. If you're hungry, you can help yourself to some lunch. And then after lunch, we'll hit the range and we'll get some rounds off, get some adrenaline pumping. And then we'll have a nice little happy hour here at the bar. Larry's doing a lot of phenomenal things that you never heard of or seen. So we're going to have a happy hour and just network. Make sure you meet everybody. Make sure you connect with everybody and network as much as possible. With that being said, we'll bring the session to a close. Thank you, guys.